Madam Mayor, it is 6:11 and we are live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Good evening and welcome to the City of Lake Worth Beach Utility City Commission meeting of Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. May we have the roll call?
Mayor Betty Rush,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Mimi May,
Here.
Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz.
Here.
And I just wanted to let everyone know that Director Liberty is online. He was online via Zoom, so.
Okay, well, maybe he'll come back. All right, do we have any additions, deletions, or reordering of the agenda?
I have none, Madam Mayor.
Does anybody else? Nope. All right, seeing none, let's approve the agenda, which is the way it is.
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. President, I'm just looking at, I am gonna do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I knew there was something. Water utility update by Vaughn Hyduk. Is it Hyduk or Hayduk? Hayduk. Hayduk.
Yeah, very much.
Haven't heard that before, have you?
Make sure my turn off.
There you go.
Vaughn Hayda from Water Utilities Department. So I figured I'd just stick to a quick update of some projects that are making good progress, for some happy news. So at the water treatment plant, we have been undergoing hurricane hardening of the lime softening building. It has been extremely loud, but it is 80% done. So hopefully that will be, fully complete soon, and we will have a safe building to stay in during any storms. I won't say the word.
Something. So that will be like an emergency shelter as well then, or?
I believe it can be considered EOC at that point.
Oh, okay.
So the RO building was built to, standards for that type of thing, but the lime softening building was not. So they have been drilling into the concrete walls, adding rebar, and then concreting it back up. So it's very noisy. In our local sewer system, our contractor just finished the first round of manhole rehabs that we gave them to do. Most of them were in the kind of Lake Osborne Estates area. There were lots of sewer manholes that had gotten in really bad condition. So that is complete. And we're going to continue and give the contractor another group of manholes. Just have to take a look and figure out, the most geologically consolidated area where they're the worst. But that's always good to know that things are back in good shape. For stormwater, the Parrot Cove project, which is the 4 outfalls to the Intercoastal along the golf course, is out to bid. So there's a pre-bid meeting tomorrow that will be adding inline check valves so that king tides can't come back up through our stormwater system. And hopefully will help some flooding on the golf course and in that area, as well as just general repairs to the stormwater pipes that lead to those outfalls as needed. And they will also have maintenance structures added in front of the check valves. Because the valves are so large and, with ocean water, salt water and everything require a lot of maintenance to stay in good working condition. They will be getting maintenance structures in line so that it will be very easy access for our staff to maintain those valves and keep them in good condition. And other than that, I would say that we are kind of business as usual, just trying to work with the budgeting process and keep some of these projects moving along.
Great, thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Just a quick thing on those check valves. if the.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, can you speak into your mic?
Sooner or later, I'll remember to do. On the check valves, let's say that the elevation of the water outside of the check valve is 1 foot. It's a little high above mean sea level. And the water level in the golf course is also 1 foot. You don't get any backflow into the golf course, but you're also not getting anything out. Correct?
Correct.
So the check valves won't necessarily help, and even if you had 2 feet in the golf course, then you're okay. It should open and then should drain out ahead to do it. But it's not an active device, it's just a passive one. And if it gets way high outside, keeps it from going in most, of the sea level.
Correct, but if the level if there was no check valve, if the level outside and the level inside are the same, then there's not going to be any flow either unless we were to add a pump or something. So yeah, like you said, a passive improvement where the tides won't be allowed to impact our stormwater system.
I keep reading water management district and stuff, we're talking, eventually going to active pumping.
I think that
We will get there eventually.
definitely, I mean, we're doing that at 18th Avenue South. I feel like with sea level rise, there are going to be more cases that can't be drained by gravity. So
Plastics, pumps, yes.
But if you pumped it, wouldn't you be pumping it back into the intercoastal anyway?
yeah. So at that point,
That's your.
I'm just trying to put my head around it.
it's
At least it's not coming back in then. If you're pumping it out, then it wouldn't be able to come back.
right, because there's also a check valve. I view the stormwater system as like, seen the flex tape commercials?
Yeah, with the back.
Where you just, on every little hole that's leaking, that's how things are going. So we're doing our best to,
Do you use the flex tape? Yes, the whole city's held together. with
we'll
flex
probably
tape.
do a great job. We're doing our best to install these check valves so that, at least the sea level rise can't come back into our system. And then at certain points, we have to assess if a pump is needed to get the water out if the scenario arises where the sea level is high and there's flooding.
If, the bids that went out is it that you could add a pump later? Or would you have to redo the whole thing? If you're thinking ahead that you're probably gonna need a pump at some point, we might as well have a device where a pump could be added.
The pump, we would always need a pump station somewhere. There aren't currently any, the diameter of the pipes that would discharge from a pump station are going to be a lot smaller than the gravity pipes that we have leaving. There are plenty of structures that like catch basins that intercept the stormwater, and at that point, it would just be assessing, which basin would make the most sense to put a pump in, and then installing with a separate discharge line to the end. So, thank you.
I just have one quick question. 18th Avenue South, how, do we have an anticipated end date to that project?
Yes, actually, it will be presented at the next commission meeting to talk about the timeline, but we asked them to do some additional work where the gutters along 18th Avenue South kind of just stopped in the
Right.
middle of the street. So the gutters are being continued all the way to the end of the street, and then the curbs are being improved to make sure they match the new gutters and to direct water towards the storm pump station inlet, everything that's down at the end of that cul-de-sac.
Because a couple of the neighbors, property owners down at the end are having some struggles with access and a few other things.
I did,
Having a
yes.
close contact with the number.
Yeah, so I did talk to our consulting engineer just yesterday to make sure that the contractor is keeping as much of their stuff out of the road as possible. But we are looking at an end date by the end of next month.
July.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. And just one other thing, I was in another city at a meeting the other day and I had a glass of water. And it was like, this is not Lake Worth water. It is so different, really, when you go and thank you for the quality of water that you provide to us, because really it's great. Thank you. Thanks for the update.
Thanks for you.
And now we have an electric utility update.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. This is Ed Liberty. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, coming to you live from the Jersey Shore. I'm here for a few days on vacation.
Where?
Um, I'm on Route 37 right now in the little town of Island Heights.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll be brief. Speaking most of the time tonight will be Brian King, our Assistant Director for Generation and Power Delivery. I'll lead off with some comments. We're continue to do well. Construction is doing very well out at our canal station. Pleased to report that Florida Power and Light has begun setting the larger transmission poles to connect us to their system. So that work is officially underway, with the first poles having been set in the last few days. So they're moving along very well. Also like to just touch on the weather that we had for May. For those of you that experienced it, we had some records that we set in May. We had record send out for electricity. We had record peaks, and we also had very high degree days. So when Brian King comes up to talk about PCA, you'll see the numbers of that translated to energy purchases. We're also pleased to report once again that our crews did very well in Tallahassee, helping out up there for a better part of a week, actually a full week, after the tornadoes that ripped through Tallahassee. We've got some nice feedback on the performance of our crews and some very nice feedback from the crews themselves on their experience on the trip, and also some lessons learned, which we'll incorporate here at home. Overall, we continue to do well. The number of outages, and knock on wood, continue to decrease. That doesn't mean that we don't have any. And we do have some outages, but the system has performed rather well. And I can say without a doubt, if it had not been for all the construction work that we've done recently, we would have had a very tough time with the peaks that we set in May. And I think that's probably it for now. I'll turn it over to Brian, who'll come up and take over and brief you on the PCA. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, Commissioner and Mayor. Brian King, Director, Assistant Director of Generation. Yes.
Can you hear him?
I can.
Okay, thank
Oh.
you.
Yes.
Perfect. So I've just given you the PCA review sheet that we do on a monthly basis. It's just for us to keep in touch with where the PCA is, where we are, and where our projection is to go for future decisions. Ed likes to always stay with the odd pages as the important pages, so we'll stick with those as well, 1, 3, and 5. And you'll see this this month, the bottom green number in the right-hand side there. You'll see that number is significantly different than it was last month. And so there's a couple of reasons for why we took a negative hit on the PCA for the month of May. One of the reasons is the peak load, the peak demand that we had for the month of May. So the previous few years, I'll just give you a little bit of history. In 2022 or 2023, the peak load for May was 88.8. 2022, it happened to be 88.8 again. 21 was 89.1. For May of 24 was 100.3. So 100.3. So we set an all new peak high demand for electricity for May. We also saw an increase in megawatt hours, about 12% higher this month than May of 23. So a significant increase in energy usage, which translates into additional megawatt purchases for us at Lake Worth. We also had the Stanton unit was in our Stanton ownership share. That unit was in a forced outage. So it did not generate anything for the month. You'll see 0 next to the Stanton number. It did not come online all month. So that's additional supplemental energy that we needed to pick up with our supplemental contract. So at the end of the day, we'll see that this month there was a deviation of negative $700,000 to the PCA.
Because that one didn't come on, is that what we had the 10,794 at the power plant?
No, so that was that's another item we discussed. No, that was for support of the pool. The Florida Power Pool, was.
I was gonna say our pool's closed. What are you talking about?
Correct, no,
I was so
Florida-
confused. I'm like, what are you talking about?
The Florida Power Pool.
Okay.
So they were in need of energy, and they called us and asked if we could run our GT1 machine, which we have not run in probably 2 years. That unit hasn't been online. So, I mean, we test it every month, we make sure, we kick the tires and make sure it's ready to go, but it has not generated in over 2 years. And so they called us and we supported the pool. The guys at the power plant who do a daily terrific job of keeping those units ready to go, brought the unit online and ran 4 or 5 hours for the pool.
And I assume the reason for that request from the pool was the same, the high heat.
Right, as much as we're seeing our demand number
Everybody
has
else
spiked,
is-
everybody is seeing the same thing, so we're in. Correct, they need energy plus, which they paid us for. We made a couple bucks running that unit, so. So what do we do about that negative 700,000? So as we've talked before, the revenues associated with all that energy we just spoke about us having to supply, we won't see those revenues come in until next month or even the following month. So that's why you're gonna see that negative balance there, and it will rectify itself to some degree over the next couple of months.
Yeah, it'll shrink. Okay.
So presumably the fact that this is, I don't know the specific months, but in general, we are running the hottest year in history, recorded history. This shows up pretty directly, since most of our electric usage, the bulk is for air conditioning. We have a direct link to temperatures.
Yeah, I
When it
think
gets hotter,
that's correct.
and people's bills are gonna go up, whether, unless they choose to adjust, but.
Yeah, 100 megawatts for May is a big number for us. We've never seen it before, and the usage increase of 12%.
Yeah, that's.
Ms. May?
Thanks. Just a quick question. Is the usage on, the usage increase of the 12%, is it people that were snowboard birds but are now permanent residents, that the housing is switched a little bit? Do you know what I mean? Like, do we have more people that are here in May now, do you think, than left?
No,
April?
I don't think so. I can look that up and find out, but I think the customer count has been pretty steady. I can take a look at the customer count, see what that is.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we're switching the population, losing some of the snowbirds and having more year-round population, therefore May would change because you would have more people in their homes.
Correct. No,
I don't
that's
Actually, this is, let me jump in. This is Ed. I have looked at some of that data, and we're showing about 0.4%, 0.5% growth in numbers of customers. But the amount of energy that we're seeing used per customer seems to be increasing. So it could be that folks who were previously only here for a few months of the year are staying longer. They stayed into May. Interesting enough, the first few months of the year were actually cooler than they had been in prior years, but obviously May came roaring back and set records for us. But we do see an increased amount of use. The population is growing. There are more customers, and they seem to be more energy intensive than prior customers. Part of that could be electric vehicle charging. Not sure, but we do see increased vehicle charging on our public chargers that we, of course, public pays to use those, but we do see increased charging there. But all around energy use does appear to be up. We don't have the analysis to determine exactly why. It could be fuel switching or adding more appliances, or a new group of customers coming in that's not yet used to the Florida warmth and is keeping the thermostats a little bit lower than the prior occupants. It's hard to tell.
I'm used to.
What we do know, and what we do know is that new housing stock being built is far more energy efficient than the older existing housing stock. So the new homes are much more energy efficient.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Ms. Malega?
Thank you, Mayor. So one question, Brian, on page 1 in the green, the negative 291.37, that's what our balance is currently?
correct.
Okay, and that includes this little pay up over here. I also think that, to Commissioner May's point, we have to remember that kids are out of school now, and kids, majority, sit home all day and do this.
But
and
not in
TVs.
May. They were in school all in May.
Right, and the same school schedule would have been in place for 2021.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
But I'm saying, I'm looking at the future, because we're not getting some of these revenues back, so we're gonna have more usage, hopefully, because we're gonna have
Sure.
kids out of school. So the negative 290 doesn't scare me, the negative 743 does. That makes me a little cautious, but knowing that we had a little bit of cushion there, which is why I'm thankful that we kept that money in reserves.
Right.
So we didn't have to go, okay, now you gotta make a transfer and then drive Bionic and the finance department crazy. So that negative 290 doesn't scare me right now.
No, I
don't know
agree. I
if
think we're in a
anybody
good,
else
plus, as we mentioned before, the revenues for this month that we're seeing that generated that negative 790, those will come back in the next month or 2 months, and we'll see that revenue catch up.
Great, thank you. Moving right along. Well, are we done?
Yeah, and this is any other questions? No.
Oh,
And
okay.
unless Ed has anything else to add, but no, I think that's
Mr. Liberty, you have
short
anything
and
to
sweet
add?
today.
No, nothing else to add. Thank you very much.
Okay, great, thank you very much, all right. Do you have any blue cards, Mr. All right, Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments?
I have no comments on any items tonight,
All
Madam
right,
Mayor.
thank you. Approval of the minutes, do I have a motion? Motion to approve, do I have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda? Second.
Vice Mayor Malega, all in favor? New business. Purchase order to Wayne Polls. Who's gonna present it to us?
I guess that's me.
Seems
I
like it.
guess that's me. So this is obviously part of our storm hardening and reliability improvement plan. This is just for the purchase of poles, which you'll use during this process of hardening the system and replacing poles. And it's just authority to be able to purchase those poles.
Do I have a motion?
motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item B, let's start. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Staff, any comments?
No, this is again part of our project. This is part of the 26 kV substation at Canal. The feeder that exit station has to go underground. So we're gonna go ahead and extend that underground section by about 600 feet. And what that's gonna do is allow us to go underground and take about 3 circuits off of transmission line. Right now, that transmission line is crowded. You got transmission above, you got circuits below, underneath, and so when our guys have to go and work, it's more difficult. You have to navigate through all of these circuits. And what we're gonna do is gonna take all of those, put them underground. And then they're also not subject to many events that may come through, right? So with the reliability increases. And so that's the reason we're gonna extend this work.
Thank you, Ms. Blake.
The only thing I thought very interesting is that we named the basic beneficiaries in this backup at night. I did question that with
Yes.
Director Liberty,
Mhm.
because this is outside of our city limits.
Correct. But
then I
still in a
was-
service territory, but
It's in our service area, but I was more like, why are we hardening stuff that's outside of our city limits to people who are within the service area prior to, especially going underground?
Right.
But he explained that this was part of the bigger project.
Correct.
so,
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting for those who are listening.
Thank you. Item C, do I have a motion? What? Oh, we didn't vote. Do I have, all in favor? Thank you. Item C, do I have a motion?
I'm sorry, who made the motion in the second for that?
Maliga and May.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, finally, item C, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Anything from staff?
again, this is part of our SHRIP project. This specifically, it relates to the Sixth Avenue substation rebuild and the 6001 circuit. And we're gonna pull out these the wooden poles, replace them with ductile iron poles. We're gonna convert from 4 kV to 26 kV, and that's what's covered in this.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Oh, my goodness, very positive.
So we started with family